Everyone, and welcome to She's Got Game, brought to you by Exposure and Spot on Sports. I am your moderator for tonight, Chanel Starling, and I have a bunch of amazing, dope Black women with me tonight. I'm joined by Angie Thomas. She's from the Second Half Sports. Courtney Goodson, CEO of Power Media. Ashley Ursuri, she is the compliance coordinator for UTSA. Sequoia Hood of Spot on Sports, and Megan Glover, who's a sports reporter for KLAX 31. So, hi, ladies. How are you today? How are we doing? How are we feeling?
Hey, I'm doing
Hey,
good.
Hi,
Chanel. We're excited.
I hope everybody is ready for all this Black girl magic, because that's what we're giving tonight for the first series and second series, which is directly following this. But I did want to start with just speaking about the challenges that Black women in the sports industry go through, whether it's the industry or the workplace. So if anybody wants to talk about like what you think the biggest challenge that we face in the workplace or the industry is.
For me, it's the opportunities for women having worked in a male-dominant organization pretty much my entire adult life, and then coming to the sports world, which is also considered a male-dominant organization. They don't view us as their equal. For me, when I talk about sports, like I grew up watching football, and when they start talking about the line of scrimmage, or when they start talking the lingo, and I say something, they go, and they start laughing. I'm like, what's so funny? It's like, it's funny coming from you, and I get that a lot. I'm just like, nah. Or sometimes when I have to do an on the spot correction with them because I'm a historian. Also, I love the history, and they'll be like, what do you know? So for me, they don't view us as their equal, and what we do isn't as good as them because they're men. It's a male dominant organization.
I think thanks, Sequoia. I think along with what Angie said is not only that, but also once you get there, feeling like you belong and establishing yourself as well. So, okay, it's like, hey, I gave you this opportunity. Now I'm here. I personally, I feel like I can't mess up. I don't want to give them that satisfaction that you can't do something, or that you're less than, or you can't meet the expectation because you're a female, or I'm not, you can't move up from that standpoint. For me, it's, hey, like, you're here, you have to establish street cred, is what I call it, in a sense, for them to really like take you serious, establish yourself that way, and being stern without coming off as an angry Black woman. For me,
that's good.
That's up, but I also, someone told me, don't ever let anyone get you down to your basement self. So I was like, okay, like that, but I can't really show it because I'm not going to come off as an angry Black woman. But I'm also going to, let's try to handle it with grace and figuring it out from that point of view.
Right. I think that as far as what you said, the angry Black woman, that we can get that so easily when we're not angry at all. We're not even being aggressive. It's that we are doing something that they are not used to. We're speaking up for themselves, because if I talk to my parents or, my aunts or my uncles back then, like a while ago, they weren't used to women sticking up for themselves. So now when it happens, it's like, this is not what you're supposed to do. This is aggressive. I feel like you're being angry. Well, it's like, no, I have to work twice as hard just to get something that you're getting, or even a little bit less than what you're getting. We have to work twice as hard. Sequoia, you were going to say something. I cut you off a little bit.
Oh, that's okay. I was going to piggyback pretty much of what Angie was saying, was as far as like us really getting that opportunity to, showcase what it is that we have, or our knowledge, or whatever it is of that matter. Just like what she said, if I'm talking about sports, whether I'm talking about basketball or football, and I worked in athletics through college and everything, and everybody look at me like, what do you know? You just, you're a pretty girl. You don't know nothing about sports. I played sports my entire life. I know sports. Why can't I be as credible as the guy next to me? and instead of just being in that moderator position where I'm just a host of a show, I have an opinion as well. How come we have to, just stay in that lane and not be credible for what we're saying?
Right, and I'm
So
going to
that's pretty
piggyback
much
off
it.
of you, Sequoia, because I think we have to realize as Black women realize that the patriarchy nature of sports media in general. So we're already at a disadvantage in that area, in that respect. Media depict women athletes just in general in sports. They depict them as women first and then athletes, as opposed to with men, they depict men, oh, they're athletes, So when you're talking about sports, when women athletes are being athletes are being depicted in the media, they're depicted as, they're recognized by their family life, by their looks, appearances. And with men, they're depicted as strong and independent, powerful. And so when you think about it, when you talk about women in sports media, I mean, look at what already in the sports industry, how big of a disadvantage we're already, experiencing and seeing right now. So, talking about challenges that we're facing right now, we're already at a disadvantage in sports media because we're dealing with it with women athletes already. So we have to work twice as hard as women athletes do to really overcome challenges in this area. So,
And I agree. And someone said something about being taken seriously. And that even happens when we talk about the NBA versus the WNBA. We talk about how can we get how can we get fans to get interested in the WNBA rather than how do we get them equal opportunity? So, and it kind of sounds like that's the conversation even in media, in sports media. So how can we change, like what has to change in order for women to be taken more seriously or respected in sports? Because I know with the WNBA, they have, they need more funding, they need people to watch it more. But as far as women, Black women in media, what has to change in order for us to be taken seriously?
I'll start this one. Personally, I don't even think it's us. I think we need to continue doing our part, continue the confidence and the crown that we hold, continue working hard. But I think we also need that fire from our counterparts. I know we'll touch on it a little later, but with the whole Maria Taylor situation, you saw how everybody in the industry, I'm not everybody, but a lot of people in the industry, they went to bat for her. And I think when it comes to situations like that, and just, every day us doing our job, or the WNBA, the people or the organizations that don't get the respect they deserve, I think it's our counterparts and those that we work with that need to do their part in making sure that we get the respect that we deserve.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm not in media, but I'm in college athletics, and it's the same thing. In a sense, so it's not about us. We're doing a really good job, and a bunch of statistics came out in surveys just with my field and how many women versus male are at the higher level. And you see there's a lot of females at the mid-level and the entry level, but as soon as you get to the senior level and executive level, vice president, athletic director position, you see a lot less female and even a lot less women of color in that position. So you can tell, okay, we want to hire you. Oh, but we're not going to get to that top part. So it takes someone from the top, the athletic director's level, the vice president's level, to be able to hire within their cabinet so that they can diversify the field as well. So if they're not diversifying from the top, because we all know how it goes, you're going to hire someone who looks like you. 9 times out of 10, you are. So if everyone at your cabinet looks the same, 9 times out of 10, if they're not stepping outside the box or consciously thinking or diversifying hiring candidate pool or diversifying their search committees, you're not going to get a lot of different people to be able to break that glass ceiling or to get over that hump. You're just good enough to do this and you're bomb at it. However, I see someone else, I think that'd be a better fit. And some of them consciously do it and some of them unconsciously do it. But it takes someone like us to step up and say, hey, do you notice this is happening? And we have to have those moments when they have those safe space moments. Hey, safe space. We're hiring this, but have you noticed that we have a bunch of female sports and we don't have a female coach for this? Or have you noticed you don't have any people of color at your cabinet position. Have you noticed that your last 3 candidates for your final 3 that you brought here are all the same person? Same white male that went to the same school? You might not have saw it, but had you had a diverse school or diverse search committee, somebody might would have caught that.
And I think that that's important for Black women to start being in these positions where we can make change. It's just like what's happening now. We need people that are in the government to make these changes that, we need attorney generals that look like us, that share our views to make these change. And I say that, and I want to ask Courtney, because she is CEO of a production company, of a media company. And I just want to know, what challenges do you face being in an executive, the highest executive position in your company? What challenges do you face on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so I mean, with any CEO position in any company, you're gonna face challenges as far as, as far as, how can I put it? Let's see. In any company, as a CEO, you're gonna have your different challenges. But as a Black woman in this space of media and communications, I think that, to answer your question, I think that it starts with the mindset. Because if you embrace the notion that you're gonna face challenges and you accept that, it's just gonna make it 10 times harder on you, especially as someone who's at the highest of a production or media and communications company. So for me personally, I try to not embrace the notion that I'm going to face challenges. I just deal with them as they come. Because you're going to deal with all types of things. I mean, I've dealt with, when you talk about racial differences, when you talk about, as far as experiences, differing experiences between me and other people. I think that I think it's the mindset that you take when you think about the challenges you're going to take. You almost have to put your bootstraps on and say, okay, boom, I'm head of this company, but I'm not going to let any typical challenges that anyone else will face. I'm just going to embrace that process. I'm just going to embrace whatever comes my way. So when I look at it, I don't really look at it as, any specific challenge that I see. I haven't personally had any specific challenges as a Black woman, as a CEO of my company, that anyone else hasn't experienced, in any other position of a company. I just take it as it comes. So.
I think that what's so amazing about this conversation is that everyone has different roles in sports. So, we talk about media a lot, and we talk about, reporting and anchoring and things like that. But Ashley, like, you're on the other side of it. Like, you are working with athletes, you're working with the conference. So you see a completely different you have a completely different experience than, us that are in the media. So would you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I work a lot with the student athletes hand in hand, the incoming student athletes who are being recruited, and I have the pleasure with compliance of being able to touch points with almost every department, from maintenance to facilities to sports med and academic advising within the whole athletic department. So it's a bit different of finding that balance with your student athletes, along with finding your balance with your coaches, along with that touch point to be able to communicate with your athletic director as well. So I think the challenge is making sure there's someone at the table that's advocating for you. Is there someone that I feel like that I trust that's going to have my back and that's going to advocate for me? There's not a lot of women of color where I am now. However, I'm just like, okay, well, I still need to make sure that I'm that representation, I'm that voice. And I think when I first got to one of my schools, a student athlete came into my office, talking, chatting it up, meeting them, and they're just like, hey, I think you're the first Black person I met here. Like the first Black, I met here in this office. I was like, okay, well, that solidified why I'm here. I question why I'm there sometimes, because things happen. It's college athletics. Like, junk hits the fan all the time, and I'm in compliance, so that's a lot of fun too. But okay, this is another reason why I'm here, is representation, to see someone that I look like them as well. And that's how I got in the position that I'm in, is because I seen Black ladies that look like me in the positions that I want to be in the future. So just taking those and being able to navigate it with grace, but be fierce at the same time, and just to hold your own. And it can be a lot, but at the same time, just having someone advocate for you and making a way and getting a seat at the table. And once I have a seat at that table, to make sure that my voice is heard at that table. So I think that's the biggest thing for me, is making sure my voice is heard, and not being afraid to say something. I started off about it, and kind of just, I seen stuff, I kind of said something, but not as stern. But then I finally got comfortable enough and develop relationships with people, because it's important to develop relationships with everyone, because they have to help you break those glass ceilings too. And I was like, okay, this is what I think, and this is what I want to say. And I started feeling a lot more comfortable, coming to them with different things that I thought would be helpful, or that I saw that I was like, okay, this is how I can be supported in this way, and this is what I want to do. How can you help me? So that's was a huge barrier breaker, and a couple of different things that you face within that position, also being taken seriously.
Absolutely. And I think that you said a seat at the table. I think that's so important, especially now. I know I see more of us coming together more. It's not really a competition. It's a competition within itself, but it's not really, we don't have the crabs in a barrel type of mindset when it comes to women in sports. That's what I'm seeing as far as personally. I see that we're helping each other more when we have panels, we're reaching out to people. When we see job opportunities that may not fit us, but it may fit someone we know, we're sending them out. And I say that to say, because Megan does that all the time. You do an amazing job with connecting women in sports, whether it's, they don't always have to be Black, but you do a great job with, hey, I saw this. Hey, I know someone who, does what you do, or hey, join this group chat. So Megan, I want to ask you, how important is it, or how can we make sure we're making or creating an easier path for the generation that's coming behind us?
That's funny, because I literally sent somebody a job opportunity before we went live. I think, I'm sorry, what was the question again?
How can we create an easier path for, Black women, or just women in sports in general? What do we have to do to create an easier path for them?
I think it's just simply all about the uplift and the support. Like we've been talking about since we've been on here, we work in an industry where we're not seen as the dominant. And it's the best thing that we can do for each other is to support and uplift each other. So, what bad is it going to do me if I see a job opportunity or something that I know would help my sister out? Because that's the thing that makes me happy, is that I want to see you win at the end of the day. And I think that's the mentality that we just need to build in our minds. We say, oh, we support women in sports. We definitely support Black women in sports and X, Y, and Z. What are we doing in our industry to make sure that we mean what we say?
Anybody want to piggyback off that? I know that's a broad subject.
They pretty much kind of hit it on the nail, hit it right there on the nail. And I honestly think too, taking those young ladies in underneath our wing, mentorship, even if they just have questions or just want to watch you while you work, or anything like that, just try to help with, mentorship, because at times it's hard for us, especially to break into the industry. And once we're in, knowing, who to turn to and who to look at, and some of our other, female counterparts, if, we relate differently as a Black woman in sports. For one, from our hair to our makeup, our looks, everything. So being able to help mold that young journalist or that young anchor or whatever it is that she wants to do in sports, I think that will be one way to kind of help push that initiative to help out our, young and up and coming broadcasters.
Absolutely. And sorry, go ahead, Mike.
My bad, just to add on that, you really never realize how much you might have made someone's day when you do that. We hear so many stories about
maybe someone who hit you up in the DM and y'all, you built this relationship, and maybe they get their first job and then they come back and say, it was all because you answered my question, late at night or something like that. That's the type of stuff personally that makes my day.
And I think specifically with Black women, it's just how genuine, for the most part, like we're so genuine, like we genuinely want to see, because we've been, the underdog for so long, that we genuinely love to see when our counterparts are doing something, that we haven't seen a Black woman do before. So I think that, it's just being genuine and actually wanting to help. And I say that to say, because like when I do panels, or if I do, if I'm doing something, I genuinely like want to help the people coming after, because no one wants to have this struggle. Like, we don't want to have to ask to be treated equally. So like, why wouldn't I do all that I can to make sure that whoever's coming after me, they don't have to go through it. And then you spoke about, breaking into the industry. I would like to know, what was your breakthrough moment? And anyone can kind of answer this. As far as industry, like, where do you feel like what was your breakthrough moment in the industry, you feel like?
I guess I'll start. What's funny is that I kind of fell into the industry my ninth grade year in high school. I was an athlete all throughout middle school and high school. And when I was in the ninth grade, I was gonna play basketball, and I decided to change. I changed my mind and decided to run track. So my schedule needed to be changed. And so when they changed my schedule, I think my mom wanted to put me in some elective class, which I was fine with, whatever class it was, but I know it wasn't broadcast journalism. But the next day I came to school, and they accidentally put me into an advanced broadcast journalism class. And so that class was only for seniors. Mind you, I'm a freshman that year. And so I ended up being in the class. I tried it out. I had never thought about sports media broadcasting, communications, anything like that. So I thought I was like, okay, maybe this might be like a fun elective just to get me by. Electives, that's what you want to do, get by in high school. So I ended up really liking the class. And somehow, in the middle of the year, my freshman year, something happened to the senior who was head of sports. And so I just took the rest of that year to really try to fall into that role and try to learn as much as I could in sports, as far as sports media goes. And I ended up being head of sports all 3 years, the remainder of my time in high school. And so that was my breakthrough moment that initially got me into the door. I had an amazing professor, someone who believed in me and who taught me any questions that I had. I really had to become a student, and a student of the industry, a student of the game, to try to learn about the media side of sports, because I was already an athlete, but I had no idea what I was doing as far as like interviewing people and things of that nature. So I had someone who was able to nurture me and, guide me through that process. But that was my breakthrough moment in the sports media industry.
Well, for me, it was kind of like by default, I guess. Growing up, I always loved sports. That was my dad's way of spending quality time with me. So it kind of like I fell into it. And then as I got older, as a young teenager, you couldn't tell me that I wasn't Pam Oliver, because I wanted to
That's
be.
the OG.
Yeah, wanted to be Pam Oliver so freaking bad, right? So like then I graduate high school, and then I go to college, and I didn't even major in journalism. I majored in accounting, but my roommate was in communications, and I would write all of her papers. Like literally,
Okay.
it's like, you know what? You're in the wrong field, right? So, and I could, I would sit up and I would watch the games or whatever. And then I went into the military and I became a broadcaster. And that was my field. So I started doing everything, in front of the camera, behind the camera. They even had me doing play by play, which I was horrible at. But the interview part, I really liked it. And when they started to allow me to do the all army sports, the post sports interviews and so forth, I was comfortable with it and I loved it. When I got into the civilian world, my breakthrough for a while was at USA Today, and I did an article, and it got published, and then they called me up where they wanted me to work part-time. And then they tell me, well, this is temporary, I'm like, okay, that's cool, whatever. And then maybe like for like 6 or 7 months, they say, well, now it's time. We're going to have to let you go. So, other opportunities, I was getting the interviews, but no callbacks. And they kept, and I would check to see who got the position. It was always the guys. So that prompted me to just do my own thing and say, you know what, I'm going to make it regardless,
And I think that's so interesting. Was someone going to say something?
Yeah, I'm saying Angie just pretty much spoke to me when she just told her story. Absolutely. That is the story 100%. Like just growing up and playing sports pretty much my entire life. I played basketball, volleyball, soccer. I cheered, I ran track. And I also in high school, I was a part of our Cardinals News Network. So I did like our broadcasting and announcements and stuff like that. So once I got to college, I was like, I want to do something within sports. I don't know. It's it's hard to really break into because so many people want to do it. It's not really demanding,
Mm-hmm.
And so it was more so just hanging out in a communication building and talking to a lot of people. And then I got a gig with the football team, and I didn't realize how it was a lot of work. And I was one of the videographers for the football team. So I had to film practice and games. So I'm there between, the two-a-days and the football camp and all of that. So I'm traveling with the team and I'm working with them and, doing stuff like that. And to the point where I get my own sports show with 2 guys. And then I become an intern with ESPN Radio in Houston. And so, things were going on up and up, but then just solidifying that exact position for you where you feel as though, okay, I'm here, I'm, wanted as a person and they're going to pay me. And so I interned a long time until I'm like, okay, I can't intern anymore. I'm about to graduate. No one's offering a full-time position right now. And so it kind of discouraged me a lot because I'm like, this is my dream. This is what I wanted to do for the longest. And so after college, you move and you gotta, what you about to do? So you go and get a job. Mm-hmm. And so it's still my passion in my heart. And I still apply for many different things and had, a couple interviews and things, but, I go back and check who got the position or, they didn't really even give me that opportunity. It's either a female from a different background or mm-hmm. it's a male, and that's really discouraging. And I just, pretty much want to tell a lot of, African-American women, like, you can really keep going because we really are a prize, and it's really discouraging at times. And I guess my other breakthrough moments when I reached out to Tony, met him through Joy and, joined Spot on Sports. And with Spot on Sports, it's been wonderful because I see nothing but like a lot of people that looks like me. A lot of my brothers, my sisters that look like me, and we're doing things. When I met Danny Martin, I was blown away. I'm still blown away every time I talk to Danny because he's somebody that looks like me, and I see his vision, and I see where you started from, and I see where you at now, and I still can see where you're going. So I guess breakthrough moments is kind of different because I still feel as though I'm at the point where I'm not all the way there yet, where I want to be. But at the same time, when I take a step back and reflect on like just me telling you guys this, I'm proud of myself to be where I'm at now.
Sequoia, it's the same. You just told my whole story.
Yeah.
Yes. It's frustrating because like you get to the point where you're interning, you finish grad school and they find something else because they know they want you around, but like there's nothing else around. But then you're also training people to help them, but then they get something before you. So it's frustrating. So you feel like a professional interview at this point. Like, are you just keeping around because you can and I'm kind of good at it, but like you don't have to pay me that much? And I felt like I got to that like breakthrough moment. And I was telling Chanel this yesterday a little bit, and Megan, that I thought I got to that breakthrough moment, and I'm interviewing at a school and it's going well. I was already sold on it before the in-person interview, loved the location, until I had a meeting with the athletic director. And it was at that moment where I learned my worth and learned, like I was talking to athletic director, and the way he was talking to me and the questions that he asked, I knew that if he asked that to a male or a white female, a white male, you wouldn't ask that. It was just out of line, borderline, pretty disrespectful, and I had to step away from it. I was like, this was my moment. This is what I wanted. I could have ran this department, everything that I wanted, like everything. But then you have to step away from it because it's not everything that it seemed, because you didn't value me as a Black female to run this department as I wanted to. You wouldn't have questioned me this way. You wouldn't have spoke to me this way. And you don't trust me this way to lead your department. You want to be almost like a handler at that point to bring a leash, I guess, on you. So I thought I had my moment, but then I, rolled back, said, well, that's not my time yet. So to keep thriving and building catalogs and to continue to be really good at what I am with my student athletes and coaches I have now.
Yeah,
I think that, oh, sorry, go ahead, Courtney.
Oh no, I was just getting ready to say, y'all all made the same point as, I was just here listening to you guys. I mean, when you talk about breakthrough moments, like, as you can see, I went to my first time, my initial time that I went into it. Still to this moment, I also don't feel like I've had that breakthrough moment yet. I mean, I just kind of gave you an idea of how I got into it. But I mean, when you talk about the endless amount of time I've dedicated to internships all throughout high school, working 3 jobs, not getting paid, just trying to be a student of the game. So I'm working another or 2 jobs. I started Power Media right after I graduated from high school because I was tired of being told no. And so, even when I just recently went to ESPN in Bristol, Connecticut to work as a production assistant, I left 2 months later. And a lot of people would look at that and be like, are you crazy? Like, that's your dream, that's a dream job for some people. And initially I thought it was my dream job, but I realized that wasn't my breakthrough moment either. It's like I'm still trying to find what is that moment. And I think it also has to do with, how it makes you feel and what's aligned with your purpose, And so I totally agree with y'all. I don't, I'm still not to that moment yet. Somebody might look at my track record and be like amazed, like you were talking about, but I'm not there yet. I know I'm not there yet.
And I think you guys said like some amazing things. I think that your breakthrough moment sometimes can be knowing your worth. Knowing when to walk away can be a breakthrough moment. You know what I mean? Like, yes, this is a big company, but I'm not going to, put my happiness second. This is not what I want to do. So I know my worth. This job isn't paying me enough. This, athletic director is, disrespecting me. So I'm going to walk away from something that, other people might not be as strong enough to walk away from it. So I do think breakthrough moments can come, just knowing your worth. And I think with women in sports, Black women in sports specifically, we are so hard on ourselves sometimes because we know what we can do. And I think that sometimes, it's okay to take a step back and, be thankful for, where you are. And, sometimes I have to look to myself and say, hey, you dream to be where you are, even though you're not, you've grown up, so your dreams are different. I'm saying the ceiling is way different than what it was 2 years ago. The ceiling is way different than what it was last year. But, it's like getting stuck in between that, being grateful and then not settling. And I feel like, as women, and especially women in sports, we are like we're in that area all the time because we're so happy to be where we are, but we're like, no, there's more. So I think that's super important for us to remember. Like, yeah, we might not have had a breakthrough, we might not be at the job that we, want to be, but, we're not where we were, and where, we're going, and we're thriving in an industry that for the most part does not want us to thrive, but we're still thriving. And I think that's super important for us to remember. We do have to wrap up. This was amazing. You guys were so great. For everyone that's watching, we'll put all your social media handles and, you know, where they can find you and follow you in the comments and details under this video. Thank you guys so much for joining us. The second series is going to be directly after this, moderated by Sequoia. And they're just going to talk about the social justice and less talk, more action. So make sure you guys tune in for that, which is happening in about 5 minutes.
All right. Thank you for having
Thanks
me.
for having us.
Thank you, Chanel.
No
Thank you
problem. You
so
guys are
much.
awesome.
All right.